It's a 60-minute drive for a 60-minute game. After all the miles we've traveled, we're almost there. After all the hours we've worked, one more can make us legends. After all
Hello, everyone. My name is Brock Vieira. Welcome back to season 2 of The Last Word. We are so excited to be back. College football has its absence has left a hole in my heart that could not be filled with anything else except its very beautiful being. We enter week 1 with a lot of surprises, a lot of shocks, a lot of things to get through, and a lot of things just to cover up from around the country. Jeff Barnes, my co-host, is actually on assignment today with the University of Southern Florida, who are up big against Bethune-Cookman right now. So joining me today in his place is going to be a very familiar and knowledgeable face in the world of college football, and of course here at Team MBS Media, Greg Rector. Welcome, Greg. Welcome back.
Hey,
What a
hey.
day of college football! Just let
Yep.
us know your thoughts.
Well, Dabo Sweeney and his no transfer list can be removed anytime soon. I'm sure that the Clemson Tiger fan base is not too pleased. Um, that was not a surprise that Georgia beat up on them. I was surprised at the beginning of the game when it was just 6-0 at halftime there, but yeah, Georgia put the boots to them in that second half, and Dabo, you deserve it. You really do.
Yeah, Dabo Sweeney has been in the constant criticism ever since Trevor Lawrence left, and for a very good reason. And we're always seeing him come up with a reason or excuse why Clemson hasn't had the level of success that they have had, in years prior. At first, it was DJ Uiagalelei, and then it was the offense coordinator, and then it was scheme, and then it was transfer portal, NIL money. But it's clear as day that he is simply behind the curve in this new era of college football. And talking about that game, that was one of the big games to kick off week 1 of the college football season. Let's take a look at some of the scores. Obviously, Penn State, which we'll be talking about a little bit, defeated West Virginia 34-12 behind a strong second half performance aided by Mother Nature. Vandy pulls off a massive upset over a dark in the ACC in Virginia Tech 34-27. Diego Paiva, the transfer from New Mexico State, got the
Yep.
late call to start today, and he showed up and showed out as he normally does. Congratulations to the Commodores. Miami wasted no time taking care of in-state rival Florida. An absolutely phenomenal performance by Cam Ward in the swamp. 41-17. That is the prior score. The new score for the Michigan Fresno State game is 16-3 Wolverines in the early moments of the fourth quarter. Michigan just took a field goal to go up by 13 points. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, an absolute defensive battle, tied at 6-6 right now. Notre Dame has the ball at their own 37. It is first and 10. It is a third quarter. Tune into that game after this show to check out more exciting defensive football for two brilliant defensive coordinators and Marcus Freeman and Mike Elko trying to get their programs a signature victory. And of course, the game we talked about already, we're going to talk about more in detail. Georgia, Clemson, Georgia's strong second half performance absolutely beat the brakes off of the Tigers. Tigers had moments early, but it became very clear and very evident also pretty early that there's a reason why Georgia has had one of the top defenses in the country for the past several years. Clemson really had no answer. They never really have had an answer in some of these big time matchups for the past several years, and that's what's going to lead us into our next conversation. Dabo Sweeney, Greg, how long do you think he has left at Clemson?
Well, if the Tigers fan base has their say right now, Dabo Sweeney would be history because he just refuses to use the transfer portal. Well, in this day and age, you've got to have some experience out there of guys who actually understand how to get victories. They have no wide receivers. They have no receivers for Klubnik. And how is Kate Klubnik going to be any better with the receiver talent that he has? He's not.
Yeah, and Dabo is a wide receiver coach by trade, so not having any receivers, one is shocking considering his history and just the history of the Clemson program, and you had guys like Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins,
Yep.
Adam Humphries. At one point, Justin Ross in college was an absolute nightmare to deal with. T. Higgins. The list goes on and on of these high level college receivers, and a lot of them have gone on to have very successful NFL careers. We're not seeing that from the Tigers anymore. I mean, when's the last time you heard of a Clemson Tiger wide receiver in the NFL in general? Amari Rogers, and that was a couple years ago. Um, it's very concerning, and the level of quarterback play that he's been getting has been well, not good at all. He absolutely wasted Will Shipley's career. Had Shipley gone to a different program, even put him in like Iowa or something, we're talking about potentially one of the greatest running back performances in all of college football history. That's how good of a player I believe Will Shipley was. He was just stifled by the fact that the Tigers have never been able to build a strong offensive line. They are very bad at run designs right now because they still have this weird Garrett Riley Clemson Tiger football way that's been clashing and does not mesh well. And you just have talent come in, not do anything for the collegiate careers, and not have the same NFL draft success that the program has had in years past. They were sending multiple first rounders to the league every single year. When was the last time they sent a first rounder to the NFL? When was the last time they sent multiple players within the top 50? You know, these are things
Yep.
that if Clemson wants to be serious about their future, they have to start asking themselves some very difficult questions in the near future. But Greg, any other thoughts before we move on?
Well, those two guys that he used to have in Clemson there, Lawrence and Etienne there, they need to go over to London and stay permanently over there. But anyhow, outside of his two Jacksonville Jaguars boys, Dabo Sweeney just does not thrill me as a head football coach. He just never has. He has never done anything for me as a head football coach. He just doesn't. So he should be gone. He should be gone.
Yeah, I think you also have to ask yourselves if Clemson wasn't willing to make Brent Venables the highest paid defensive coordinator in all of college football, if he didn't have certain offensive coordinators throughout his career, how differently his resume looks. And we're seeing kind of the result of it now when he's had to replace two coordinators in Tony Elliott and Brent Venables.
Yep.
The replacements have not been up to standard. So
Nope.
are you gonna give him another shot with different coordinators? Is it time to blow the whole thing up? How much clout and how much leverage does he still have with the boosters? How much does his prior success of winning two national championships play in his job security for the future? A lot of people in Clemson, they still love Dabble. He's a beloved figure down there. I think it's going to take a lot more for him to go, but if they're smart about it, they need to start asking him some serious questions. If the answers they don't get back aren't the ones they like, they have to start asking more difficult questions for themselves. Before
He needs to use the transfer portal, and he refuses to. He didn't have anybody out there at all. No, not one player. And in this day and age, you just cannot succeed that way. You just cannot succeed.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And we already know his thoughts on the portal. We know his thoughts about NIL. And no matter what question you ask about these tough topics, it's always going to turn into some, a statement about Jesus, which is very infuriating because he uses the Lord as a deflection for you not being able to answer
Yeah,
questions that are
yeah.
prevalent to his job, which is it's very asinine if you ask me. But if they allow him to do this, I mean, is it really his fault? If no one's checking him, that shows fault on others as well.
Look,
So
for me, I don't care if it's a player, a coach, or anybody else. Um, don't use God. Period. Especially when you're on TV and in public, I don't believe in any of that. I keep my religious beliefs to myself, and everybody else should as well.
yeah,
Don't use God that way. It's just ridiculous.
yeah, and there are we've been around coaches, we've talked to them before, and there's a lot of coaches that have um, displayed their faith, live faith-based lives, and things like that. And you notice there's a trend with them is that they don't like to talk about it that much in public, and they really
Yeah,
only mention it either in gratitude or when asked about it. It seems that he goes out of his way to mention it, maybe to push the agenda. But for me, it feels like it's the easiest cop out for him.
yeah.
Again, instead of answering the actual different questions when it comes to his job. So we could spend all day talking about Dabble, and there's a lot to talk about. But before I get back to the games this morning, I want to talk about some of the performances over the past 2 days that have really made up week one. Obviously, we had Colorado's win against North Dakota State. We had TCU defeating Stanford in California, a game that was much tighter than I think a lot of us expected. Wisconsin had a very poor performance against Western Michigan, making me doubt how long Luke Fickell is going to be the head coach for the Badgers. And then, of course, we had Michigan State defeating Florida Atlantic in a game in which Michigan State looked sloppy offensively, but you saw the framework of a Jonathan Smith defense. And to me, it's very promising where they go in the future. Do you have any
I want
thoughts
them to
on
be. I
those
want
games?
them to be so promising that they kick the daylights out of those Wolverines. That's what I want. You know this. You know this.
I do
I
know
mean,
this. And
that's
we will get to it when we talk about Notre Dame and Ohio State and all that good stuff. But yeah, like Michigan State I think has a
the
long road to
Fighting
go, but
Irish are winning the game now.
yes, up 13-6. They just scored a tutty. Jadarian Price punched it in for the Fighting Irish. Connor Wagman, for whatever reason, something about Clemson and Texas A&M that has irritated me over the past several years is that their quarterbacks get way too overhyped and they are way too high in preseason and early season rankings. There is no reason Clemson was the 14th best team in the country or deserved to be ranked as the 14th best team in the country. Texas A&M is not the 20th best team in the country. I can
No,
guarantee you that one.
no,
And,
they're
and
not.
yet they're the top 25, and that's a bit questionable, but it is
Let's go
what
down.
it
Let's go
is.
down to number 25. What they did today without their head coach. Iowa put up 40 points.
Yes. New,
40.
new offense under Lester, the offense coordinator, Tim Lester.
Yep.
Um, wow, watching Iowa players go in motion was a shocker.
It was shocking, wasn't it? It was just like,
It was
oh,
yeah, it was almost as shocking as how bad Cade McNamara is at throwing the football. Oh my goodness, that is concerning. But it was nice to see their offense be I don't even want to use the word prolific, but efficient. I guess is the best way to say it.
yeah, it was efficient, but
Yeah. How do they
Cade McNamara is just not a very good quarterback. I mean,
no?
that's the bottom line.
How does Iowa keep producing Caucasian special team aces? That
I
that
have
that
no
return
idea.
yeah, like I mean Tim Dwight, Cooper DeJean,
Yep.
the dude they got now. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name, but he had himself a day. A punt
And
return caught back.
Lachey was very quiet. He only had 63 yards on 6 catches. So I mean, he
True, but he was one of those Iowa like quietly efficient kind of guys. Is the best way I'd put it. You
yeah.
know, like, but I am very excited. I mean, their rushing attack. It's not like potent, but it's promising. You know,
Yes, it is.
and Moulton is a guy that I am very excited about. Kilo Johnson had 119 yards on 11 carries, but we already knew how good he was.
Yep.
Um, Cade McNamara, Iowa quarterback, 21 for 31, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns. If he could be a little bit more accurate, he'd probably have over 300 on the day. Reese Vander Zee, freshman, I believe true freshman wide receiver, 5 catches, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Another future Caucasian special teams ace, or just ace from the Iowa Hawkeyes. They are really good at producing guys like that. Cooper DeJean, Riley Moss, Tim Dwight, as I said, Caden Wetjen. Wow, that guy is fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
He is fearless. That's all I'm gonna say. He is absolutely fearless. I said Iowa wins 11 games this year. They make the college football playoffs. I'm very starting to feel very strong in that prediction. Look at their
I, I
schedule.
I've got
Look at
them at 10. I've got them winning 10 or 11 games as well. I do
yeah.
because of their schedule.
The only game I have them as an underdog entering in is Ohio State, and the rest of it they could be back in the Big Ten championship game. Everyone wants to talk about Oregon, which we'll get to because they're
Yeah.
struggling against Idaho. I want to talk about Oregon, maybe what Ohio State's going to read through everybody. Like who else is going to be in the final? Iowa is a team that you guys really need to watch out for. I think that they're Penn State. I don't think they play Penn State this year, so they don't have to worry about that either, or Michigan. So they get to beat up on all the little boys in the Big Ten, and then maybe sneak their way into the championship game. And even losing in that game is probably good enough to get them into the playoffs. In this format. So exciting times for the Hawkeyes. Going over kind of the stats and some of the leaderboards, and obviously this will be updated, but couple of things that stood out. Shadur Sanders currently leads the country in week one passing yardage, 445 passing yards in that absolute shootout against North Dakota State. Josh Hoover at TCU. I think we're finally starting to see that TCU offense start to come together. I think that they were missing Garrett Riley a lot last year. I think that they're finally starting to settle in.
But again, you said earlier it was a bit of a surprise that Stanford had that game was at the farm. That you go to that farm, you get a beating. I don't care who you are. It's anybody who shows up to the farm. Stanford will kick you. They will beat you up.
They will. I mean, I remember a couple years ago when Oregon beat Ohio State in Columbus, and next week they lost to Stanford,
Stanford.
at the farm. So, it's very interesting to see where Stanford goes from here because they were a program that when I first started watching college football, they were terrible. And then obviously I got to grow up with the rise of them and the Jim Harbaugh, and then obviously David Shaw after. And then we saw the fall of them as well in this new era where they kind of go from this point. It's very interesting. I think they have a very intelligent head coach. I really love his FCS roots. I think they could do some special. I think Daniels is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country. But TCU, I don't know, man. Something about them. I'm not saying that they're going to contend or anything like that, but I think that they could get some wins in places we don't expect.
Sonny Dykes is a damn good football coach. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I remember 2 years ago when everybody was laughing at me and I kept saying TCU, TCU, TCU. I just had that feeling because of Sonny Dykes. And he has done a magnificent job with the Horned Frogs. Bottom line. Now let's go to the other game, the North Dakota State Colorado game, because immediately there was RG3 saying that Shadur Sanders is a top 5 and Travis Hunter is a top 5 pick and da 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 da. Would you clowns wake up? Wake up. They're not top 5 NFL picks yet, okay? I mean, that was just so stupid.
Well, I mean, Travis is. Shadur. No.
Travis Hunter should be a top 10 player.
Yes.
The way that this draft is going to go, I mean, he may not go in the top 5. He just might not.
So okay, well, obviously we're gonna get to the other games. So here's how I feel right now. We have so much time to go in the evaluation process, and how they shake up, and which teams are gonna be picking top 5, right? So right now, I currently have a top 5 of Travis Hunter, Will Campbell, Carson Beck, Will Johnson, and who is my 5th guy? Hold on, it's gonna come to me. Just give me a second.
Steve Pierce?
No, I was gonna put Michael Williams, from Georgia.
Okay.
But honestly, I think there's 4 guys that could replace him. I have it as like a blank edge slot because I have him in there, right? Pierce, obviously, Harold Perkins, and then I also have Nick Scrouton from Texas A&M. That as a late sleeper that could sneak in. And then obviously we still have the Ohio State guys, Sawyer and JTT. We don't know, their stock could massively improve. Abdul Carter as well. There's still a lot of time to go. I just think that it'll be at least one edge guy within the top 5. So I think Hunter gets in, 1 because of his versatility, 2 is his athleticism.
But it depends on what NFL teams are drafting.
Of course.
But in those top 5 picks, and I don't see Travis Hunter going. I see him going like 7, 8, 9 right now. I just see him that just because of where the NFL should shake out. I don't see Travis Hunter being picked as high as those other players, especially Will Johnson, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, the other tackle from
Kellen Banks.
Kellen Banks. I mean, you've got some real top-end talent at offensive linemen. And as we saw last year during this draft, how many offensive tackles were taken? I mean, bang, bang, bang. Every round.
Yeah. We start to notice that when one gets taken, there's a run on them because people start to fear that they're not going to get some or get a tackle. The one thing that I will say is that benefits Hunter in this process. I have him as my rankings neck and neck with Johnson. I think Johnson goes off the board before Hunter. But I think something that's increasing Hunter's stock is his abilities on offense. Because as we saw last year, there was a clear message sent by the league. They are investing in offensive players early, even if there are better defensive players that are ranked. Like, and I got big board
Here, let,
rankings.
let me
They're
put
gonna
let
go
me put
offense no
this
matter
up.
what.
Let me put this up here just for Joe, in case Joe is around. Uh,
Oh, here we
there
go.
he is. There he is. He's my corner one. There's no doubt in my mind that he is corner number one. Brendan Morrison I have as number two, but yeah. And Travis I have as my third corner right now.
That's fair.
Because he's not well, he plays it full time, but I got Morrison and Johnson ahead of him.
Okay. So, just for my quick rankings before we move on, I currently have Johnson at 1, um, Hunter at 2. I have Jabbar Muhammad at 3, and then
Okay.
I have Burke at 4. So
Now,
obviously, process is early. Things are gonna fluctuate, but I just think that's something to keep an eye on as you kind of go throughout this process. Especially because the uncertainty about it is the most riveting part, and that kind of I want to lead that into our next topic, which is Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech. Putting up,
wow.
wow. Put the score one more time for you guys. Vandy 34, Virginia Tech 27. Greg, just share your thoughts on what happened.
Virginia Tech got their asses kicked. They got their asses kicked. Vanderbilt was able to come out and just beat them up in that fourth quarter and in the overtime. And Virginia Tech just collapsed.
Yeah. There's really nothing more to it than that. Brent Pry gotta be disappointed. I mean, I thought this was the year that they were gonna put together. Year 3 is the year I always have for coaches, right? And I believe this is year 3 for him. I was very high on Tech coming into. I had them as a sleeper for the ACC. Wow. Um, Shout out to Clark Lee and his staff. They put together some very impressive wins during their tenure. They've had some bad luck. You need a lot of good luck if you're going to win at Vanderbilt. Hopefully, this turns it around. Going to New Mexico to get your quarterback and offense coordinator may not be that bad of an idea for teams in the future. Look how it panned out for them. Before we move on, any other thoughts about that game?
I was just thrilled to see Vanderbilt come up with that victory because everybody always says Vanderbilt's the last place team in the SEC and everything else, and those kids just came out and played a beautiful second half of the game.
Yes. Well, we had a couple big games today. Kicking off first, Penn State, West Virginia. Our very own Courtney here at Team MBS. She's Penn State through and through, no matter what, and she must be very happy today with the result. Here's how I feel about the game. The offense looked better, but it didn't look good. Drew Aller looked better, but didn't look good. Drew Aller has shown an impressive amount of athleticism and a concerning amount of inaccuracy. Oh wow. Wow.
There's my other hoodie. Is my Penn State hoodie just for Courtney.
Wow. Well, you're always showing the love, but my point still stands. I thought Aller, when he was on, and when he wasn't on, the misses were glaring.
That first half was awful.
Awful. I'm very concerned about their ability to run the football. I thought they should have had a lot more success running the football. I think that West Virginia had a tremendous amount of opportunities early, and they squandered virtually every single one of them. I think had they taken advantage of this,
and that's their own turnovers. I mean, their own turnovers cost them. It's
exactly.
just as the Penn State turnovers were costing them early, but when that rain delay happened, and after that rain delay, Penn State just smoked them. They just smoked them. And Penn State showed that they are an excellent football team. James Franklin doesn't run up scores and all this other nonsense like other people do.
Well,
but,
I mean, don't ask West Virginia fans about that last year. I mean, he kind of ran up the score then.
See, look at that. Great looking hoodie, Greg. See?
We are concerning. Concerning is what you all are.
No.
Yes.
I have. No. See, I'm old. I remember Paterno and Capoletti and all those great Penn State players from years ago. So, I I always had a feeling of Penn State and the Nittany Lions, and they would come out and beat Michigan, and they would beat Ohio State, and this year all they have to play is Ohio State.
And they'll
That
lose.
well, let's hope not. Let's
I
hope not.
mean, I mean, we can hope for things. Like, I hope $1 million falls in my lap today. But
Yeah,
like reality and that is two separate things. Here's the problem I have with Penn State. They're not consistent enough. They never really have strong starts, like ever. And why weren't they able to run the ball today? That's a massive point of concern for me. Um,
Singleton was. I was surprised that he was very quiet today.
yeah, and I feel like they didn't give Kaytron Allen the opportunities he deserved either.
Yeah,
Um, I think they're trying to like make him like a H back. I don't really understand it. I don't like it. I want to make
but
that very.
again, Penn State had to use the aerial game to show that Drew Eller can throw the ball more than 7 yards at a passing attempt and all this other jazz, which they did successfully.
Yeah, I mean, what we know when he's accurate. That's the conundrum. Maryland football can actually surprise. I agree. I agree 100%. I'm very impressed with what Maryland's putting on today. I've
Maryland,
been
yeah,
I've been a Mike Locksley to a bigger program like champion for years now, and no one listens to me. What Locksley has going down at Maryland
yep,
is very impressive. I don't understand why he hasn't gotten more hype. He's a Nick Saban coordinator, so that should already give him clout. I mean, hell, if Jeremy Pruitt can get a Tennessee job, why couldn't Mike Locksley get a better job than Maryland? I get maybe years ago when he was at New Mexico, it didn't work out, so you don't like him then. But he has proven himself over and over and over again. I mean, unless it's he doesn't want to leave, that's one thing. But
that's right.
if it's ADs that are not giving him the shot, you got to start asking yourselves, are you a dummy? Because he is one of the premier coaches in all of America. And I agree. Maryland, another dark horse in the Big Ten. I don't think
Yes,
they're
they
going to win
are.
the title or anything. But hey, put together some unexpected wins here and there. Maybe beat a couple ranked teams. Maybe you entered last week of the season with an opportunity to get into the playoffs with a couple losses here and there. You never really know. Maryland is a team that I have on the rise as well. But going back to Penn State, this is the year they're supposed to put together. This is the year that they're supposed to have everything rolling. You have a new offensive coordinator coming in from Kansas. You have two of the best running backs in all of college football in Singleton and Kaytron Allen. You have a quarterback who we've been hearing hyped about. You have a quarterback we hear all this hype about in Drew Aller. I know you guys lost Olu Fashanu last year, but you still have a decent offensive line and also NORAD as well.
Oh,
And
they've got two real good edges. I
yeah,
mean,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, defensively,
they're
like
they're
and
they're
Kevin
loaded
Winston,
defensively. They are loaded defensively.
yeah, and Kevin Winston is one of the best safeties in the Big Ten, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So there's no excuse that they should have looked how they looked early today. And again, very concerning. But I will admit, Tom Allen's defense showed some character today, especially on those
yeah.
fourth shorts. Like they showed, like Tom Allen's a defensive guru. He puts in those little wrinkles that makes offensive linemen hesitate on their assignments, and they'll get in the
Yep.
backfield quick. So there's no excuse why they shouldn't have more success, in the upcoming future. But again, a bit concerning for me, just because I expected more from them today.
I wasn't expecting a huge performance because you're going down to Morgantown, right? That's not an easy place to go down to. That's no easy place to ever go down to. And Penn State played well enough to get the job done today. The rest of their schedule is pretty basic, except for Ohio State.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what we're all kind of waiting on is Ohio State. Like, where do they lie, and everything? Because right now we think that they're the gatekeepers of the conference, and Oregon is supposed to be kind of team number 2 in a lot of people's minds. But in the same sense, Oregon is only up by 3 right now against
3.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that is
Idaho.
bad.
This is the Vandals. This is not a Division 1 team, folks.
Yes. They're not exactly. They were, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Dan Lanning has been crowned as this heir apparent to the great coaches of college football, and it actually pisses me off because he's done nothing to prove that he should have that recognition yet. I'm not saying he won't get there. I'm saying yet.
Yeah.
To me, there's a five. I always call it the five, which is the top five head coaches in all college football. Right now, I have Kirby Smart, Kalen DeBoer, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, and who is my other one?
Marcus Freeman. That's okay. That you're smart. You're very smart. Marcus
Marcus is
Freeman.
not there yet, but he's
Oh,
close. He's close though.
okay. All right.
You know what he needs though? A signature win. That's the thing.
Yes.
He needs a
Like he's getting right now.
A&M is not a signature win.
What? It's the loudest stadium in all of football that they. All I've heard about. All I've heard about.
Factor when Appalachian State came in and beat them like a couple years ago or last year.
Well, yeah. But again,
I'm gonna throw out a coach for you that I have my top five that you're gonna call me crazy for. You ready?
Who?
John Summerall at Tulane.
No, I'm not going to call you crazy because you look at Tulane's schedule every year. They bring in big boys, and they play them, and they sometimes even beat them.
True. I just say you look at what he did at Troy for the past couple of years.
Yep.
Impressive, very impressive. So I don't have him in my top five, but obviously a lot of people have him in like the top three for no good reason. He's lost to Kalen DeBoer 3 times. He has 0 conference championships. He has 1 New Year's Six bowl win against Liberty. So does that really count? I'm not saying it doesn't count, but like it doesn't count as a signature victory.
No,
it's not like one of those massive wins. I mean, if this was still the old Pac-12, I would even have had like if this was the Pac-12 last year or even this year, I might not even have him in the top 2 of coaches. I think that he is a great coach, a great recruiter, but he's also a product of Oregon. Like he hasn't exceeded expectations.
I would say the Oregon State head coach,
John Smith,
and Kalen DeBoer from Washington, if they were still the Pac-12, would be the top 2 coaches.
I mean, Wizard. You can put that. You can say Wizard Hunt can be put him up there too. If Utah had the resources that Oregon does, I mean, But again, I think that it's very concerning what we're seeing today. I think it's evidence of what I've been saying about him for this entire offseason. So if they fall out, is Penn State confident enough in their abilities to be able to come into that second best team in the Big Ten role? I don't know. And I did not gain any more confidence after today's game. That's just how I feel. Do you have anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can continue your Nittany Lions disposal. It's fine.
Well, I feel like this is going to be a topic for conversation in the near future. Again, I am not a Nittany Lion hater. I actually enjoy watching Penn State football. I just think that there comes a point in time in life where you need to stop accepting being good enough. I think that time is now for Penn State. Moving on from a team that could potentially be on the rise to 2 teams that had head coaches fighting for their jobs. Florida, Miami, and the SWAT. Cam Ward, huge day as shown below. 26 for 35, 385 yards and 3 touchdowns. Xavier Restrepo, one of the best wide receivers on college football, my number 1 wide receiver in the ACC. 7 receptions, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. Florida sucks. They've always sucked under Napier. All right. Miami is not good. I want to make that very clear. Miami is not good. Do not get caught up in the moment. When Miami enters conference play, you will see Mario Cristobal at the highest crystal balling level there is. And it will be glorious. What are your thoughts on the game, Greg?
Well, I mean, Cam Ward was phenomenal. And really, Mertz is just not a good quarterback to begin with.
Never was. Except for his first game against Illinois, he never was. Mad. I'm still mad I called him the greatest Wisconsin quarterback ever.
But I mean, he was still challenging guys down the field instead of just stepping out of bounds today. And then, of course, he ends up getting nailed, leaves the game. And the young man that Florida has at quarterback, DJ Legale, there is No, Legale.
Florida. Sorry, I misheard you.
Florida. Yeah. He's a very good quarterback. He is an excellent quarterback. And of course, he did not go to the Georgias or anywhere else as the top recruited quarterback this past season. He went to Florida, and it's just like, really? Okay, but boy, he showed me something today.
Kids of football, if you have any aspirations of being a quarterback in the NFL, do not commit to the Florida Gators. There's no other way to put it except
Yep.
that will ruin your career. And everyone is on Anthony Richardson right now. He's the guy that can do it. He's the guy that can break. I don't know. I saw him throwing some balls straight to the linebacker in preseason. So I'm not too sure about that. But you look at the track record. Rex Grossman is like the biggest name that comes to mind. You can go Kyle Trask, Felipe Franks, Tim Tebow. You go all the way back to Spurrier. Florida quarterbacks do not translate well to the NFL. Stop playing for the University of Florida unless you're like Tommy Frazier, which means you're just like running the ball more than you're throwing it, and you don't have to make those critical, the tight window throws in your career. Like, you know what Florida should do? They should run the triple option.
Really?
Why
not? Why
go
not?
get the skinniest, fastest kid in all of Florida. You're my quarterback. We are running the triple option. That's your best shot. Miami is a product of a bad situation in Gainesville. Their victory today. This is not a product of them improving as an organization.
No. Miami did improve because that transfer portal, they hit on some boys from that transfer portal. They
coached.
And,
Cristobal.
Cristobal will be the ruination of any player who is a Hurricane. I don't care. Cristobal, he was terrible at Oregon.
Yeah.
And now he's, doing the same thing as at his hometown university, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll make a statement right now. Justin Herbert declares in 2019 instead of 2020, and he does so as the number one overall pick if he's the quarterback for any Pac-12 North team besides Oregon under Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal is the destroyer of quarterbacks. He has done nothing in his career to ever elevate the play of one of his own passers. He absolutely destroyed the career of Tyler Show, and he doesn't get enough. No one blames him enough for that. Anthony Brown was not a good quarterback, but he was mobile enough, so he worked.
He worked.
Yeah, he worked. Exactly. Florida, if you want to be successful again, recruit an Anthony Brown kind of player. And triple option him. That's the best. That's the best way. Cam Ward showed some massive deficiencies during his last year at Washington State as conference play rolled on when defenses figured him out. Give Miami 3 or 4 weeks of being like good. They'll be 4-0. They'll be like the 8th ranked team in the nation. They're gonna have a weird conference loss. They're gonna win 2 more conference games and they're gonna lose the rest.
Yep.
That is Miami.
Okay. So there was the Miami Florida game.
What should talk about next?
I don't know which other game would you like to hit on?
How about we talk about? Wait for it.
No, Greg. Notre Dame isn't the greatest school ever. You have to try at least and be biased. Another crazy college football Saturday is in the books. So let's get back to the show and discuss it all. Thanks for tuning in. The Last Word, a show for the real college football fan.
Yep. Greg, just want to throw that out there. Excuse me. Just want to throw that out there to make fun of your Fighting Irish. But talk about them.
Well, hey, this has been an all defensive game. Basically, the young quarterback for Texas A&M threw 2 picks in the first half. And of course, the crowd noise down there at Kyle Stadium caused a whole bunch of offsides and things like that early on for the Fighting Irish. But they've got the lead now. I mean, that's fine.
That's fine. That's all you got. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. It's only week 1.
Yeah, I mean,
We're on the
how?
road. We're on the road. We're playing down in Texas where it's 100 degrees and all this other garbage that they keep talking about.
Excuses.
Yeah,
Excuses. Excuses. No.
exactly. Which I'm not using.
Notre Dame. Is a
It's now
team that-
tied at 13, by the way.
yeah, yeah. Notre Dame is a team that I am confused about. I like Riley Leonard a lot, and I've been saying that for quite a while. I mean, we've had our conversations. I think that he is one of the more premier NFL ready quarterbacks. At least that's what I thought for a large part of last season. We gotta see how he assimilates in this Irish offense. But they lost a lot of talent last year. So, do you feel like they
And
still have the firepower to, be
well,
within the
they
conversation of college
lost
football?
they lost Usuga as well for the season, who was a very good left tackle. So they're down to their backup there. Um, they really have some question marks still at receiver. But their defense is so damn solid. Their defense is just so solid. And they've shown it already with the 2 picks. As Xavier Watts already has one of the 2 picks, by the way. So he's on his way to leading the league in interceptions again this year. But yeah, it's a tough game to go down to Kyle Stadium. It is.
I mean, not really, but whatever makes you feel better, Greg.
No. The offensive line for Texas A&M is all 315 pounds. All of them. Minimum 315. Notre Dame's defensive line is not that big.
Whose fault is that?
Well, hey, I mean, when you got Cross and guys like that who are in their 6th year, you just keep plugging away with them.
No, I'm just playing it all. I do think if the Irish can pull this out, I think they're going to go on a run this year. I actually have some big expectations for them. I think getting Denbrook from LSU was kind of a big kind of piece for them, and not having Gerard Parker as your offensive coordinator.
Oh Lord, that was a nightmare.
How did he get a head coaching job?
I have no idea how anybody hired him as their head coach after seeing that performance, especially the game against Ohio State. He screwed up so badly. They had Ohio State beat. They had them beaten. And then what does he do? He throws that. No. Just horrible.
I know. No, I know. Him and Jeff Lebby were my biggest kind of confusing coaching hires this offseason. But
Yep.
that's a conversation for another day because I have some thoughts about Lebby that probably aren't appropriate for the public to hear. But with that being said,
here's another Brock Vieira moment.
Not today. Not today. I want season 1 to be not as controversial as season 2, episode 1 to not be as controversial as I usually am. But of course, all that aside, for you, what are your expectations for the Irish this season?
Well, I've already said to you, I've got 1 loss on their schedule. 1. And I didn't know who it was going to be against, whether it would be Texas A&M tonight but the rest of their schedule, I only had 1 loss going for them. And I couldn't tell you who it was going to be against, but the Irish would blow 1 game.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Marcus Freeman, the Marcus Freeman era, in my opinion, at least right now. Brad Kelly, over his last couple of years, was consistent at getting you double-digit wins. He couldn't win big games, but he won all the small ones. Excuse me. Freeman has a propensity to lose a random game, just like out of nowhere. Can he clean that up this year? I think it's going to be the major difference for the Irish. Can they win all the games they're supposed to win? And can they win them convincingly? If they do that, I think they'll be dangerous. If not, I think things can go very sideways for them quickly. But
like I wrote about in my articles about Notre Dame, I said the defense is going to win these games for them. Mm-hmm. And that's the bottom line for them. Riley Leonard's a good quarterback, but I still don't trust the wide receivers. Mitchell Evans is still out, and that's a big loss right now against Texas A&M.
Yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see, right? So we will be right back. We're just gonna take a quick commercial break. Of course, Greg, myself, the last word, Team MBS Media. It's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to more college football action later on this evening.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build a cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gulf Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. Hashtag built for the wild.
Excuse me. My goodness.
You,
I don't know what's
you
going
get
on.
yourself you got yourself a little chill there.
I think I might have it coming down with a little cold, but that's all right. It's still warm outside. Just go sit out in the sun for a little bit. But welcome back to the last word, everyone. This year we have a tremendous amount of shows here at Team MBS Media. We have a bunch of NFL stuff kicking off very soon. Of course, college football forecast. Bill, Carol, and I we're back. Myself and Thomas Brown. We got ourselves a show called Off the Dome, and then we also have a bunch of dedicated writers covering various sports teams across the country. One is right here with us, Greg Rector, of course, at Greg's Cowboys. Follow him on Twitter. He covers the Dallas Cowboys for us. He covers the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for us, and he's always ready about the world of sports, basketball, football, soccer, you name it. He's covering it. Of course, we're talking college football today. Greg, over these past 3 days, there have been some really good performances and really bad performances. I like to go 3 and 3. I'd like for you to say 3 players that you thought showed up, or 3 teams, or 3 players that you thought showed up and showed out, and then I will go 3 great ones, and then we'll go 3 that you felt either performed poorly or not up to your standard. Go first.
Well, let's just go to the Miami, Florida game because Cam Ward was phenomenal. That was, to me, that was a fantastic performance by Cam Ward. Bottom line. Then a quarterback who didn't perform at all today was Kate Kubnik. Oh, geez, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked. Other guys that I like this week, Travis Hunter, of course. I mean, he does what he does. I gotta say that I'm shocked that either one of the Penn State running backs didn't have a bigger game either. That's the bottom line there. And again, I'm going to say that all these people who have had the Texas A&M quarterback here highly ranked. I'm sorry, this kid is just a sophomore. He's not a superstar. And again, he's already thrown the 2 picks. I'm going to say my other surprise player was the quarterback for North Dakota State, Ken Miller. He was phenomenal.
All right. So my 3 picks go out to Nico Iamaleava. I apologize if I mispronounced his last name, at Tennessee. They had an absolute phenomenal day. They boat raced Chattanooga. Like, it wasn't even close. To me, he's my dark horse Heisman for the year. I think that he's going to be an excellent quarterback in college. I think you put some more weight on him, he'll be a good quarterback at the next level as well. My second star, I want to go to Jimmy Horn Jr. out of Colorado. Obviously, the names have always been Sanders or Hunter, but excuse me, Horn Jr. absolutely showed up and showed out against North Dakota State. He was finding spaces and zone coverages. His speed is incredible. I think that you can do a lot of unique things with him if you get more creative. But at the same time, the offensive coordinator is Pat Shermer, so there is a definite cap on creativity when it comes to that. So I feel like the Colorado won't be able to get the most out of Jimmy Horn Jr. And the last player that I want to shout out for having a phenomenal day today would have to be so many great performances, so many great players. I would like to say, who should I pick, Greg? Who do you think?
Why don't you go to the Vandy quarterback?
Paiva?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's good. I was gonna say Jackson Dart, but yeah, I'll go Paiva. Paiva had a massive day.
Paiva.
Yeah,
Jackson Dirty. I mean, come on. Who was he playing against?
true. So
Right?
Paiva had a phenomenal day. 12 for 16, 190 yards, passing 2 touchdowns. On then he had 26 carries, 104 rushing yards, and a touchdown as well.
And a touchdown.
He is the epitome of toughness, of grit, of if there's a will, there's a way, and he did a phenomenal job today. So he'll get my 3rd star. Greg, who are some of the three players or 3 teams that disappointed you the most?
Wisconsin. Let's see who else. Because there hasn't been any real. Oh well, Virginia Tech, I guess, would be a team that should have been better. And what's the final score for Michigan?
Let's check. They're up 30-10. Oh, they finished the game 30-10 against the Fresno State Bulldogs.
Oh, they managed to get 30, did they? Okay, well, I guess I can't put them down as that big of a disappointment then.
But so I'm not too sure exactly what happened, but Orgy only played a couple snaps for them today. He only had 2 passes. Davis Warren was their main quarterback today. He went 15 for 25, 118 yards, and 1 touchdown. The main ball carrier was Kalel Mullins. Mullins. He ended up getting the most carries with 15, and he had 92 yards. A bit concerning for the Wolverines, but they still won fairly comfortable by 20 points. But you have anybody else you want to add?
Oh, nah, no, it's only week 1. I mean, I'm not going to be going after too many teams here.
That's fair. My disappointing performances were Tyler Van Dyke, and I'll get to the whole Wisconsin thing later, but Tyler Van Dyke, I felt needed a bounce back performance. I don't think he delivered it. I think that there's a lot of people's confidence in him that's at an all-time low, which is a very unfortunate thing to say about a young man, but it's just the fact of college football. I think my other performances that I wasn't incredibly fond of, Fernando Mendoza for Cal, I thought that he was going to come in and start slinging the ball around. Didn't look that comfortable today for the Golden Bears. It's very concerning. And then my last pick would have to be Max Brosmer was not great, or at least as great as I was hoping for Minnesota. I thought they finally figured out the quarterback situation, but clearly it wasn't the case. North Carolina, despite Max Johnson having a very bad game and then having a season-ending injury, we're still able to pull off a surprising win in Minneapolis. So I'll say Browser.
I wasn't that shocked that the Golden Gophers lost. I wasn't that shocked.
I was shocked they lost. I was just shocked how poorly they played and how they lost.
And again, I'm not overly shocked by this. I'm just not. The Golden Gophers don't impress me.
They have players, but unfortunately, they're always injured.
That's right. They're always hurt. Their guys are always banged up.
Well, that takes us to, wait for it,
What head coach or coordinator does Brock want to fire now? Jeff will settle him down, trust me. Grab a snack and another drink. Let's get back to the last word, the show for the real college football fan.
Those are some of the new graphics that we have here at Team MBS this season. Shout out to the team that worked behind the scenes for giving us all this great stuff. But like I said, this is the statement. Greg, what is your final statement before we head out?
My final statement is that Dabo Swinney does not need to be a head coach in college football. He just doesn't. He should be gone. He should be history.
Do you want to expand?
Well, yeah, because again, his whole outlook on the world drives me bananas. It drives me nuts. I don't care what your beliefs are, pal. I don't want to hear your beliefs. I'm not spewing out my beliefs on national television and using that as an excuse for why my football team sucks. And that's the bottom line. Dabo Swinney, your teams have sucked, and they have sucked badly for several years now. And it's because you refuse to use NIL money. You don't like the transfer portal and all this other stuff. Well, get with the times, sunshine. Get with the times, because if you don't, sayonara.
So it's funny because you said get with the times of Dabo Swinney, and I agree with you 100% all the way. I think that there's a coach that needs to go back in time a little bit, and that's Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. What the hell are they doing up there? Why are they running? College coaches know you don't always have to run the ball on a shotgun, right? Like they know that's not a requirement in the rule book. Like they understand you can put a quarterback under center and still run the ball off the gut, right? Just want to make that clear. What they're turning Wisconsin into is a shell of itself. They are a hard-nosed power rushing attack. That's what they are. That's who they are. That's who they'll always be.
But again,
what are they doing?
He wants his Cincinnati Bearcats back.
They go to Cincinnati and get them back. You had them in Cincinnati. Go back to Cincinnati if you want your Bearcats. All right.
Yep.
But this is not Cincinnati. This is Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Randall Stadium. I mean, it's supposed to be shaking and all that fun sort of stuff. And there was no reason to be shaking the other night.
Ron Dane won a Heisman because he was very good at yak. Not yak. Actually, yeah, let's go yak. Yards after contact is what I'm trying to say, right? You know why it happens? It's because they play contact football in Wisconsin. All right. You know why?
Braylon Allen, who in his rookie season was so phenomenal, and then ends up going late in the draft to the Jets. Oh, I feel so sorry for that young man having to play with Rodgers, because of course he's not going to see the football in January when it matters. Because Aaron has to throw the ball. You know that.
Oh, absolutely.
And Breece Hall is in the same boat, unfortunately, for both of those men.
Yeah.
But again,
he thinking they ran the air raid for the Packers in the playoffs. Yeah.
So again, it's very disappointing to see what happened at Wisconsin with Fickell. I didn't understand the decision to hire the guy.
Yeah.
In the first place, and it's going to get ugly.
Yeah. I always thought that the thought process was we're going to still play Wisconsin football with a bit of modernization and also a better recruiter. That was not the case. I thought that they would modernize their offense as it have a much more balanced attack, while still maintaining power run principles. No. Braylon Allen was running people over when he was 17 years old at Wisconsin. 17 years old. You've turned him into a shell of himself. A shell of himself. You turned him into. Luke Fickell needs to go from Wisconsin. I'm already calling for his head. I don't care what Wisconsin. I don't care if they go undefeated the rest of this year, because they won't. Because they don't play power football anymore. Was getting rid of Paul Chryst that smart? I don't know anymore. I mean, maybe it was right to get rid of him, but the replacement, you needed someone that understood Wisconsin. I mean, I'm just saying, you have Brett Bielema playing Wisconsin football at Illinois, a program that has far less resources and it's having moderate success, at least having success above expectation.
Yep.
That's not happening in Wisconsin. I think that needs to be addressed quickly. So that's my final statement. Greg, do you have anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, because it's still 13-13 for Notre Dame and Texas A&M. So,
Well, on behalf of yourself, I say go Irish. On behalf of Courtney, I say we are. On behalf of the boss, Joe Cardozo, I say go blue. And on behalf of everyone,
I can't ever say that.
you can't ever say it. On
No,
behalf
I
of
can't.
everyone, I just want to say UNLV football is so back. It is so bad. UNLV is headed to the Power Four, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I've been saying this forever. They finished today with a dominant performance in Houston against the Cougars, 27-7 to kick off a phenomenal start to their season. They played Kansas in 2 weeks. It's a very tough game. They will not be favored. However, if the Rebels pull off that victory, if they put themselves in the driver's seat for that non-conference automatic qualifying bid for the college football playoffs. Good luck to our Rebels. Good luck to your Irish. Good luck to all of your teams.
They would beat Liberty.
They would beat Liberty.
Who is the preseason number 5.
Facts.
So yeah, that would be a phenomenal thing. And again, as I said to you off camera, when they have real students at that school, unlike when you went there,
Okay.
they're doing just fine.
Oh, are they now? Well, hey, I'll take the insult if it produces championships. That's all I'm gonna say. But thank you for joining me, Greg. We'll definitely have you back on the show. You are basically our reserve guy. You're always willing to come on, help us out in times of need. And it's been a lot of fun. For all you guys watching, this is the last word. We are live 7 p.m. West Coast time, 10 p.m. East Coast time every Saturday night during the college football season. We will check you all next weekend. Check out our work at Team MBS Media. So long and farewell. Like and subscribe. All right, have a good one.